When it comes to pursuing an MBA, one key aspect is where you're going to pursue it from. Are you going to pursue an MBA in India from an IIM or other top B school? Or are your dream B schools Harvard, Stanford, Wharton or London Business School and you want to go overseas to pursue your MBA? So here are 3 criteria that you could use to make your decision. The first would be where you intend to work after your MBA. That's because the fees in Indian B schools is typically around 20 to 25 lakhs and the starting salary for the top B school will usually be 20 to 35 lakhs and it makes perfect economic sense. On the other hand, the fees overseas for top B schools could be somewhere around 70 lakhs to 1 crore, especially if you factor in the living expenses. And if you want to work overseas, it's something which is fine. But if you want to get an MBA and then come back to India, it doesn't really make sense. In fact, another criterion is how to pay the fees. Getting a loan for these fees is also easier if you're pursuing an MBA in India because top B schools have 100% campus placements and which is why the banks offer 100% loans, no questions asked. On the other hand, if you're going overseas, getting a loan would be difficult or it might come with a higher rate of interest since there's that added risk and the amount also becomes a lot more. The second criteria that you should look at is your own eligibility. Now, the Indian MBA is usually a fresher MBA. For instance, I studied in IIM Lucknow and I was a fresher. And this trend continues even now, where the typical B school grads will have anywhere from 0 to 4 years of work experience. And very few B schools will actually have a minimum work experience criteria. However, when we are looking to do an overseas MBA, let's say from a Harvard or a Stanford, if you look at the average profile, it would be somewhere around 5 years of work experience. And on top of it, the requirement for Indians or Asians could be a little bit more, perhaps going up to even 7 to 10 years. And this is because we are not competing among all of the students. They have really strict rules around diversity. And if they have 1,000 seats, for instance, they might look at about 100 to 200 seats for Asians, and this could even include Asian Americans. And since Indians are usually good at GMAT and you're being compared among your peers of your own nationality, this means that you need to differentiate yourself through your work experience and your profile. And a lot of us don't have very differentiated work experience. It could typically be some form of tech work experience, or maybe you're a commerce grad and you have some experience regarding accounts. Now in this case, the average work experience requirement for you might shoot up even more. So in case if you have anywhere from 0 to 4 years of work experience, an Indian MBA from a top B school like an IIM is your best bet. Anywhere from 4 to 7 years of work experience means you can look at an ISB, an executive MBA, or perhaps an MBA from an overseas B school. But anywhere from 7 to 10 years of work experience and a good GMAT score means you're going to definitely be eligible for top B schools which would be better than the IIMs as well. Now the third criteria is how much support you need for placements. Now when we look at the top B schools in India, they all have 100% campus placements, and that's something which is pretty much managed by the college and by the students. So that's something which you're more or less assured of. The actual pay that you get will depend a bit on the current economic situation and where you stand with respect to marks and your profile and so on. But there's 100% campus placements, and that's actually why there are 100% bank loans for these B schools. However, when we go overseas, there's no concept of campus placements. There's definitely placement assistance, but you would be required to apply. There might be job fairs and all that you're attending, and that's what's helping you to get a job. Now, this is also important since we are going overseas and we'll be looked at as immigrants. So if there's some political issues or an economic slowdown, it could be that the country is going to prioritize their own citizens. So this is just something more to consider. Now, this does not mean that if you have a Harvard, a London Business School, an Ecole or any of these B schools on your resume, it's going to be stressful. Sure, your average salary might go up or down a bit depending on how it is, or you might not get the exact role that you want, but there is a lot of respect in the market for an MBA from a top B school. But it definitely makes sense to only go overseas if you're getting an MBA from a B school which would be considered better than the best IIMs, especially given the fees and some of the other points which I spoke about. Now, if you want to pursue an MBA, stay tuned for the next video because I'm going to talk about what are the different B schools and what are the exams that you need to crack to get in.